HITRUST Evaluations and Pre-Assessment. This is Video 4 in the Digital Forge Getting Familiar with HITRUST set. Videos 1 and 2 are an introduction to HITRUST origins and assessment types. In Video 3, we covered scoping a HITRUST engagement. In this video, we will talk about performing an evaluation against HITRUST standards after the scoping process has been completed. It will cover knowing the requirements, timing, controls, how HITRUST controls are scored, what the scoring terms are, assessing the gap, filling the gap, and independent evaluation. Knowing the requirements. The first step in knowing what to evaluate is knowing what is required by HITRUST, or the level that everything needs to be measured against. HITRUST CSF is a prescriptive set of controls that adjust to an organization's size and complexity. A small organization may have far fewer controls to work through than a large one. A HITRUST scoping process, covered in Video 3, is the easiest way to determine the controls necessary for your organization. The HITRUST CSF is available through the HITRUST Alliance's MyCSF, where the current version of the HITRUST CSF is a free download through the HITRUST Alliance's main website. With either the MyCSF site or the free download of the controls, it will be easy to evaluate the controls that apply to an organization. Timing. Another important factor to consider is timing. The main item that contributes to how long it will take for HITRUST implementation is how agile an organization may be. Many times, smaller organizations can more rapidly implement HITRUST. One reason is that there may be far fewer controls required than a larger organization may have. Smaller organizations have been known to implement HITRUST in as few as 4 months. If security and compliance are already part of the organization, the process can be much faster. Early engagement of a HITRUST assessing firm can greatly speed the implementation process. Larger organizations have taken a year or more to implement controls. But no matter the size of the organization, it's important to talk to all those that may be involved, including IT, HR, finance, and department heads. Areas that are already shorthanded can help schedule a good starting time and requirements that may be needed. Department heads can help determine how long the process may take and the staff that may be dedicated to the project. Controls. The HITRUST CSF uses what are called controls to evaluate compliance to regulations. Each control is a statement of what is required. The statement will specify what needs to be done or be put in place to pass by HITRUST standards. The number of statements, or controls, an organization requires comes from the scoping process. HITRUST has developed a way to score these controls to gauge compliance. Scoring. HITRUST evaluates all its controls in 5 areas. The categories Policy, Procedure, and Implemented are worth 25 points each. Measured is worth 15 points, and Managed is worth 10 points. A percentage from 0 to 100% in increments of 25 is granted according to the compliance level as seen here. The goal is to reach 66% or more average, combining all scoring areas to pass each control statement. What the scoring terms are. It's important to understand the terms used for scoring the controls. Policy is a documented set of rules that are created by management to follow. Management should also sign off on these policies. Procedure includes written requirements on how things are done in the organization. Implemented looks for evidence that policies and procedures are followed. Sometimes this is determined by interviews or other evidence. Measured is evaluating how effective or how well a control is handled, including both a one-time measurement and a metric of compared measurements. Managed includes actions taken if a control is not effectively handled, and how improvement is conducted, which could include corrective action planning and remediation processes. Assessing the gap. With the CSF controls specified and knowing how to score a control, you're ready to do a gap analysis. This is where a comparison is made between the control requirements, or statements, and what is in place in the organization's operations. Some controls may need guidance from a certified assessor for interpretation. The comparison should be against 100% compliance to the control statement. Passing to HITRUST standards is at least 66%. It is possible to get a 60% and still receive certification, but it would also require corrective action planning to be created for any control that is between 60 and 66%. More on corrective action plans will come in the final video of this series. A score of less than 60% on any control statement will not receive a certification. The variance from what the control specifies and information from the organization is the gap, or difference. Filling the gap. Once you know the difference between what is in place and what is required, efforts can be made to make up the difference. This could be anything from writing additional policies up to creating evidence to prove a process. Whatever needs to be done to complete the statement contained in the control. When the process for filling the gap is complete, it's best practice to perform an additional gap analysis. This is an opportunity to verify that the control statements have all been appropriately repaired. This is also one of the best times to have the assessment done by a third party, and HITRUST requires that an independent review of the compliance program is done before the certification process. The reevaluation process repeats until a passing score can be assured. All clear. Once an organization has an assurance that they have a passing score on all the required HITRUST controls, it's time to move to the certification phase, which is covered in the last video of this series. How do I get started? Only certified HITRUST assessing firms may validate HITRUST implementations. Digital Forge offers a wide variety of HITRUST-related services, from initial planning to configuration and setup to MyCSF validations. Digital Forge has specialized teams that can aid in whatever stage you may be in. To find out if HITRUST is right for your organization, or for more information about our services, contact a Digital Forge representative today. HITRUST, MyCSF, and HITRUST CSF are all copyrights owned by the HITRUST Alliance.